hone in on a couple things that was said here because, James, it's such an important example. And Mark, back to your point about power. There's a difference between power and unregulated power. So there's hierarchy and there's expectations and there's all of that. And there are boundaries. And the people who extend their power too much can do it with the people who won't hold boundaries. So no is not just an answer. Sometimes it is a boundary, James, like the example that you gave. And it's a very important litmus because if the only success comes from giving it all away, what is actually being won? And I'll give you an example of that. When I first moved out to Seattle, I was working in big.com and there was, it was a holding company. So lots and lots of different .coms all in this one. And I walked into the office of an executive who had just been promoted to another big role. And I think I caught him right at the wrong time because I came in and said, hey, congratulations, you're now president of blah, blah.com. And he just sank in his chair and he said, thanks. And in one of those moments, I was like, is it not a good thing? And he said, the problem is around here, it's a cake eating contest. And the prize when you win is more cake. And he leaned back and he said, I'm sick of the effing cake.
Yeah.
So that stuck with me very early in a career that was absolutely could have been yes, 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 all the way into the ground. And I've always remembered to go back and think, how much more cake am I really trying to win? And those boundaries actually also related to that. A couple of years later, I was running a recruiting organization for the same company. And I was watching, and I didn't have a background in recruiting, but I certainly knew people. And I was watching all the people come in and negotiate, which is all about yes and no. But more than that, I was watching the people who didn't negotiate. And I think we can make some guesses along the lines of people who are comfortable negotiating and those who aren't for a lot of different sociological reasons. But there was one person I was hiring for my team, and we were getting ready to close. And I said, I have one other question for you before you accept this offer. How come you didn't negotiate? And she said, well, because I wanted the job. And I said, but if I'm hiring you to do a job where you're going to advocate for everything, you're not going to take no for an answer. Why are you taking no for an answer right now on your very best product? And it had never occurred to that person to advocate for themselves because they wanted to be selfless. Mm-hmm. And this was a person coming from a major network who had all the positioning power. But we give things away because we think we can tell the future. And when we're saying the yeses in the moment because we might get non-renewed, we actually can't tell the future, but we give away ours.
I think companies take advantage of the fear that we have in our heads, and
of course they do.
As you were talking, James, it made me realize that sometimes that fear that is motivating us is a lot louder and more amplified in our own heads than maybe reality would say it should be. And we respond to it that way, that, oh, if I say no, there could be some catastrophic consequences when maybe there wouldn't be. But
I mean, yeah. It goes back to what Kristin started us off, is that our brain's role is to keep us safe. So when you start thinking about, oh, if you say no, that's not safe, because now we're going to think of it and amplify what those emotions and feelings are of unsafeness. So then I'll think about that.
And that it's so important to see all of these competing elements in our head, all while we're just trying to figure out some of the basic, like I said, micro decisions, much less the bigger ones.
Yeah.
So now that we've all admired the problem of this, let's talk about some of the language around helping ourselves have that space. And the concept I want to put forward is a simple no. Now that's oxymoronic because most no's and yeses aren't always simple. But I want to give you something that you can remember that's going to feel comfortable how you personify it. And it's 4 words. And then we'll dig in a little bit more. But the 4 words to a simple no is thank you and no. The reason those go together is that thank you does the social acknowledgement. It is the, I hear you, I appreciate the ask. It's that quick acknowledgement so we don't seem like jerks, like Mark said earlier. The and follows because it's not a but. A but is an invitation to try to debate my answer. That's going to be a hard one because we are wanting to qualify things. We want to soften things, especially when it's a non-desirable answer. So the and makes it subtly stronger. And that's very important to you and to them as well. So thank you, acknowledge, and doesn't allow a comma, and then no. And the quicker the no, the easier it will be for the other people to accept. It's when, as Elise said earlier, we start over explaining or apologizing for it or quantifying it, that what we're really doing is giving a lot of rope for people just to come back and tie us up. Oh, I'm just really sorry right now. That day's not going to work for me because I have so many things going on. Oh, well, then we'll just change the day so you can come and work for free all Saturday. So if we're just saying, I'm not able to do it that day. Thank you for asking. The sooner we put the period at the end of the sentence, the sooner we can step out of the jump rope back and forth. Thank you. And no, you're going to want to keep explaining after that. But as in a lot of journalism, they teach you let there be a long pause because the other person will step forward in their discomfort instead of us trying to tap dance around ours. Thank you. And no. It seems way too simple. I can sense all of you right now being like, but then, and then my mother-in-law, what? Yeah, it's exactly in those situations we need to use this more and more.
No, what's going through my mind, Kristin, is making sure that I say it as nicely as possible and it doesn't come off very sarcastic. Thank you and no. So,
And no.
Yeah, thank you and no.
Thank you and and this is why I say that's the formula. That's the simplicity of it. Of course, it's got to be in your voice. The challenge is our voice isn't always to be trusted.
Yeah,
because we start out.
It's just funny to think about it that way. But I think in terms of simplicity, it gives something very concrete to hold on to because very simple. Thank you and no.
And I'll extend it a little bit for everybody else's comfort too, James. So we could say, thank you for the offer, and I'm not able to participate. Thank you for the offer. I won't be able to attend. I even took out the and there. And it doesn't, then nothing else follows that. So we can make it a little longer. I say the 4 words because that helps us in the moment of like, how do I say this? You can say the niceties in the beginning. It's most important that we finish the no as quickly as possible without being blunt or like that Saturday Night Live sketch. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well,
Bye-bye.
and I think in the past I've been like, if I were to put it in my own words, I would be like, oh, thank you so much. I wish I could. That's a lie. I don't wish I could. Right? So I have to stop lying, basically. Because when you say, I wish I could, then you're leaving the door open. But when you come in with a no or I'm not available, it closes the door. But you leave that door open and most people will push through it. I know I will. If somebody leaves a door open for me, I'm,
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, the creativity for people to get what they want is there. And having that clarity is kindness, as I said earlier, for you, but also for them. So they can move on to the next person to get to drive an hour and a half in that day. But clarity is kindness and nothing else is a substitute other than punctuation. Now, you can come back at other times because I can hear everybody right now, their brains just like crinkling over this and say, if something changes, I'll let you know. If you just feel that desire to say something else, but that's different than if I change my mind, because now you've just invited them to arm wrestle with you mentally. So it's not, I'm changing my mind. It's, I'll let you know if something changes. If there's a lot of people who keep pushing. And I've also heard from a lot of people who've been able to say, right now, I am just not taking on any further commitments. Fine, that feels larger than I'm just saying no to you. For the month of August, I'm not doing any additional social activities. Sounds like a good time. Have fun. Like you can absolutely finish the conversation. You don't have to be the awkward person that just has silence for 5 minutes. But it's most important that the first thing that can be heard is thank you and no. Or conversely, yes, if that's the appropriate answer. But the thing here that as everybody's adjusting to this, it's like really hurting their brain is that yes and no are both a complete sentence. We don't owe people our calendar, our psychological states, or anything else. If they're coming in and asking us for something, the only thing we owe them is certainty. That's the yes or the no.